This is a reading of Young Ruins by Elsie Lupus from the collection Mostly Rejected. I love Young Ruins. There's nothing quite as haunting as the ruins of recent civilization, structures that couldn't withstand a furious onslaught of nature or an idiotic mistake of humanity. Those were the young ruins I loved. Collapsed subway tunnels, old derelict buildings, factories that had long since been abandoned for one reason or another. I liked them strange, and I liked them unknown. Why go to Pripyat and be one of those boring people who only want to see famous abandoned places? I much prefer places without tour guides, places that had simply been forgotten. Small ghost towns in the middle of the deserts that had once been booming mining towns until the mines dried up. Ancient sewers from cities that were never finished, and places that had been hit by chemical contamination and never recovered. Those places were home to me. Solitude and silence, darkness that only a strong flashlight could penetrate. I'd found out about one such place from a few friends I'd made along the way. They said there wasn't much to see, but that the town of Fenta along the western coast of the United States still had a few interesting spots to check out. It was near the sea, but not near enough to be within sight of it. Fenta had been a young town, and then an earthquake came and brought it all crumbling down. It had been deserted ever since. I knew that there was probably little to see, as some of those friends who hesitantly suggested it had been engaged in urban exploring for far longer than myself, but I had a feeling about it. An utterly decimated town with a caved-in road and some buildings that had sunk into the ground. It was something I had to see, and I was ecstatic when the bus dropped me off a short hike from the town. There was no public transport route to that place after all. Why would there be? I had to trek through some mountainous debris, but I made it to the town in less than an hour. It was remarkable. The foliage had overgrown the whole place, but the grey buildings stuck out of the overgrowth like sore thumbs. The tallest building in the town had nearly snapped in two and was lying in the intersection. As I dropped onto the road, a flock of birds shot into the sky and disappeared over the horizon. I smiled to myself as I got my things ready. My backpack had everything I needed: my phone, my flashlight, a few tools, and of course, the most interesting thing that I clipped onto my cautionary helmet: a camera. What's urban exploring without some photos, right? I stepped carefully, patting the ground with my boots as I went. My hair was tucked away and out of my face. I started exploring. I peered under every nook and cranny I could, and I wandered through the forgotten aisles of a destroyed grocery store. Canned goods were strewn across the floor. They'd never been retrieved. I picked up one of them and wiped the dust away. Unopened and no doubt fresh, a good souvenir. I popped it into my bag. The grocery store was mostly undestroyed, but the roof had caved in and the tiles had shifted. The wall on one end had crumbled away, and the light from outside was clearly visible. The town's destruction had seen a few casualties, and some bodies had never been recovered, buried under rubble that couldn't be cleared away. I found an old fridge inside the grocery store staff room and managed to yank it open. There had been food in there, but the extreme age had destroyed it all. There wasn't even a strange smell, just dust and dirt. I didn't bother to close the fridge as I climbed over the destroyed wall and into the street. A traffic light had fallen and crushed the frame of a now rusted car. The tires were gone. Perhaps some people had come through to loot some of the valuables. One of the stores across the road had once been a clothing store, and the clothes were brightly colored under the dust, faded with time but still bright neons and netted designs, fashion fads that had ended decades before. The cash register lay open, and there was no money inside. What little there had been was probably long gone, looted in the days and weeks following the disaster. I heard something outside and carefully moved towards the shattered windows to see a small herd of deer. They were wandering through the town, and I made sure to position myself in the best stances to get good video of them from the camera on my head. I stayed still for a few minutes, and once I could no longer hear them, I continued exploring the ruins of that small town. I wandered through a few storefronts and found nothing of interest, and the only apartment block in town had collapsed too much to give me any place to enter, so I abandoned that idea. Instead, I wandered further from the commercial district and towards some of the houses. Many of them had fallen apart, and some Some had fallen directly into the ground. Others were more intact, but had started to fade away after decades without maintenance. I approached one of the larger houses and found the door inside had crumbled, but I spied a basement door to the side. I whisked through the ancient forgotten garden and reached the basement. It had caved in. I sighed for a second and was going to walk away when I decided against it. I started to grab one rock after another and pulled them all with all my might. I don't have the strongest arms, but I managed to do it. I cleared a small path, but the last obstacle was a heavy rock that needed my legs to push it deeper into the basement. I'd never have been able to pull it if it had been on the other side of the rubble. And from my spot outside, I could see into the basement. It was undisturbed. I crawled through. It was a tight fit, but I managed it. I turned my flashlight on and the dust took a few moments to settle. I was inside. The structure was perfectly intact, but I had been wrong about it being undisturbed. As I looked from the dusty countertops near me to a door towards the end of the passageway, I stopped. I noticed that something was written on the wall. It had been written with a thick, permanent marker. The walls had once been creamy white, and the writing stood out sharply. I can see now. It took a long time, but I can see. I can finally see. I tried screaming, but my throat got sore. It got so sore. I could sometimes hear them above me, but they never came here. They never found me. I tried, and I tried, but nothing. Why can't they hear me? I need help. It hurts all over, and I don't have any food. I don't have any light. I have nothing down here. I can see now. I can see, but there's no light. There's nothing. I'm so hungry. I don't know how long I can last down here. There's still water, but I don't know for how long. I don't know. I just need something to eat. My stomach hurts so much, but so does the rest of my body. I'm writing this by the entrance. I hope that someone knows to help me if they get through that door. I'm just going to lie down in the other room. It's sore to move. Signed, Raoul. I swallowed and nodded to myself. I moved forward and headed towards the door at the end of the passage. It was open. I peered around and saw nothing but another scrawl on one of the walls. This one looked more frantic than the last, and it was written in big, terrified letters. I don't know how long it's been, but no one ever came. I never hear voices anymore. I never hear anything anymore. Did they just leave me? Did they leave? Why? Why would they do that? I don't think my arm healed right. I can use it, but it still hurts. It stings deep inside, like there's something just wrong. I don't know how to fix it, but at least I found a way to eat. They didn't taste good at first, but they crawl in here from holes that I can't find. I've tried to make more holes. The fur is hard to get through, but it's easier now. Is it still 1988? I can't tell time anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's only been a week. How am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to know anything? I used to try screaming, but my throat hurts when I try to make any noise anymore. There's no one to speak to anymore. Not anymore. Not since the shaking. I miss people so much. Maybe I should just kill myself. I don't know what I can use to do it, but maybe a wall will do. Signed, Raoul. I turned away from the writing and saw something that made me gasp. I stared at the words on the wall. They weren't written in black, but in red. Thick finger marks trailed away from the words. It wasn't a letter or a note, but a scream to the world. I whispered those words under my breath as I felt a shiver run up my spine. I don't want to die. I pressed on. I wanted to get away from the bloody message on the wall, and I pushed my way through one door after another. The basement was large, and there were old signs of life, and bones were all over the place. The bones of small things. I presumed they were rat carcasses, but many of them were almost powder by now, thrown into corners and abandoned. I paused as I saw yet another message on one of the walls. This one was written in black like the other letters. I don't know what to do down here. I like to think to myself. I talk to myself when I speak. My throat hurts. Maybe it's the dust, but I have new friends down here. I talk to them. They talk back. At least I have some company again. Sometimes they don't talk back. Sometimes they don't reply. Bastards. Why won't they talk back? I hate Peter. I hate him so much. Jolene? She's okay. I hate them all. They don't say what I want them to say. They don't say things a friend would say. I want a friend, and Gabe isn't a friend. I should kill Gabe. He mustn't see me writing this, he'll know. I can just kill myself. Then they all die, all of them. Raoul kill them all. Raoul will win. Yes. I felt a cold shiver and thought about getting out of there. I knew that through one of these damn doors I'd find a corpse, a long dead man lying in some corner. I shuddered to think of it, but reassured myself that I was an urban explorer. I couldn't just run away. The places I explored had often been the sites of death. What made this house any different? The occupant had simply never been found, and they died in the dark. I felt tears coming to my eyes. They weren't out of sadness, but out of fear. I stepped through another doorway, and there it was, the corpse, lying there in the darkness. It was a woman, but I could only tell that by the clothes. They were ancient and tattered beyond repair, but they'd once been blue, a pretty blue dress. My eyes caught sight of some words above the body, and I gazed up at them. In case I die down here, I want people to know that this is my mother. She was hurt badly. When I got down here to hide from the earthquake, I tried to help her, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm a plumber. What do I know about all that medical stuff? I don't know when she actually died. I want people to remember her for the lovely woman she was. She always cared for me. Her little Raoul, she called me. I love you, Mom. I love you so, so much. I hope I don't die down here, but if I do, if they don't find me, then I'll be glad to see you up there with our Lord. I'm sure they'll find me, though. I can hear them up there. I can hear the machines. You'll get a proper funeral soon. I love you, Mum. I breathed deeply, staring at the words, unable to take my eyes off them. Then I heard something on the other side of the basement. I heard something moving. I turned and raised my fists ready, but there was nothing. I moved. I wanted to get the hell out of that place. That's when I heard the scraping sound. It wasn't near me, but I knew where it came from. And I started moving faster. I jumped around every corner and raised my fist. I was going to hit it, whatever was out there, anything, I didn't care. I rushed around to the passageway that had brought me here and saw that there was no natural light. I grabbed my mouth to suppress a scream. The large rubble I'd pushed in with my legs was back where it had started. I sprinted to the rubble and started tugging at it. It wouldn't move. It wouldn't move. Damn it, it wouldn't move. I was breathing rapidly, taking in endless sharp breaths. I closed my eyes and tried to calm myself. I nodded and pulled my phone from my pocket. My hands were shaking, but I had reception. I could get a call out. I could get out of this. Then a noise crept up behind me. Footsteps. I screamed and swung. Without realizing it, my phone slipped out of my fingers. It landed down the passage and I heard it chatter. I stared in the direction of the phone and gasped as I fell backwards. Please don't, please. There was something at the end of the passage. It was pure white and I could see its eyes glimmering in the darkness. It didn't move, but just stood there, hunched, staring at me. It was breathing. My name's Lulani, please, just please. I couldn't help but break down in sobs. The creature wouldn't come near. It was just outside the light. And when I moved, it shifted, staying away from the light. I touched the flashlight on my lapel. I fiddled with it for a few moments and then yanked it from its fastened spot. I held it firmly, and the creature pulled back even further. What do you want? What do you want? I screamed at the top of my lungs. It didn't recoil from the sound, and I checked the battery indicator at the back of the LED light. It had about 86% of its full charge, a few hours of light, a few hours. What do you want? The creature moved a little, and I could hear it making pained noises. It was trying to say something, its voice croaking. I held the light firmly. I felt the tears in my eyes. It burns. Eyes. I whimpered as I tried to scratch through my bag for anything I could find. I knew it was futile. I knew what was in there, but I wanted to try anyway. I wanted to try anything. You... It shifted, and I saw its white, naked, blotchy skin. You... Friend... Now... And that has been Young Ruins by L.C. Lupus. It's a very happy story with a happy ending. If you enjoyed this, consider doing the usual things like comment, subscribe, share, the huge. Or you can also check out my books. Now this one is from Mostly Rejected, which has been on the screen like the entire time, which is a short story collection. This is one of many short stories. You can also check out Parked In, which is about a sentient parking space who has some thoughts about humanity, or the last one, which is Dear Martha, which is an epistolary story told through letters about a man who is sent to investigate an archaeological site, and things don't exactly go well. He's a terrible person, and there is a creeping horror that comes upon him. So, with that, I hope that you have a great day, week, month ahead. You can find everything in the description, and goodbye.